Gabriel Lefkowitz has performed on The Tonight Show and Saturday Night Live too. Now he's been named the new conductor and artistic director of the Louisville Civic Orchestra, and he's with us this morning. Now that you've been named the new conductor and artistic director, you have a passion for music. Gabriel, where does this come from?
Oh, absolutely. Thanks so much for having me. I come from a musical family. My grandfather was a musicologist. My father is a professional violinist in the Boston Symphony. And so I feel like I didn't really have a choice, but I'm glad I didn't. I started playing violin at 4 years old and played in youth orchestras all throughout my upbringing. And I just fell in love with orchestral symphonic music and wanted to make it my full-time career. So now I kind of do a few things. I'm concertmaster of the Louisville Orchestra. I've been studying and professionally conducting orchestras for about 10 years now. And so I'm thrilled with this new position with the Louisville Civic Orchestra, where I get to conduct and be on the podium rather than lead from the violin chair. And it's just been my entire life in music, and I try to do many different things musically. So this is just a dream come true to have this new position.
Many people recognize you from the Louisville Orchestra, but why the Louisville Civic Orchestra? I mean, one of the things that we've always enjoyed on Great Day Live is having members come on and really just recounting that history of being the oldest continuously performing orchestra in our community. I mean, that's significant.
Absolutely. And, I'm so happy that it's called the Louisville Civic Orchestra. We really provide a civic function in this community, which is to say, we foster local musical talent, which every great self respecting city should have that kind of an orchestra where Louisville's own talent really can shine. And one thing that we do, which is unusual, but a blessing in this community, is every production we do is absolutely free. It doesn't cost anyone in the audience a penny, so there are no financial barriers to attend one of our performances. That's what the Civic Orchestra is about, is serving this community as fully as possible, and that's why great cities have both an orchestra like the Louisville Orchestra and orchestras like the Louisville Civic Orchestra.
How do you see your role with the Louisville Orchestra really partnering or even enhancing now your role with the Louisville Civic Orchestra?
Sure. Well, we have some plans that I can't speak to in the pipeline for wonderful collaborations, hopefully. Uh, but I would just say my entire life and professional life as a working musician in orchestras, working with some of the great conductors of the world, including our very own Teddy Abrams, has taught me so much about the kind of presence I want to be on the podium, how to rehearse, how to inspire, how to really make beautiful music with wonderful colleagues, which is what I absolutely have both in the Louisville Orchestra and at the Louisville Civic Orchestra.
Now, speaking of collaborations, Gabriel, you performed on The Tonight Show with the Louisville Orchestra
Did.
and the one and only Jim James. You've
Yeah.
got to tell us about that.
Unbelievable. I mean, Jim James, obviously his aura, his rock star personality was incredible. That was definitely something I'll never forget. They say exciting moments go by very quickly in the blink of an eye, and that's why I was really conscious of trying to take everything in at the time, the studio, the audience, what was different about what I see on TV versus being there. And it was a really exciting experience. Musically fulfilling, and just to be there at Rockefeller Center and get to go up to that floor in that historic studio was really incredible.
Now, what about Saturday Night Live? I mean, that's incredible as well.
Yeah, that happened about 10 years ago. I had kind of a connection to the band Vampire Weekend because I went to Columbia and they went to Columbia, and I think at least one of them was a music major there, and that's what I majored in. So we kind of were loosely acquainted through some mutual friends because I think we were like 2 years apart in school or something. So I did play a couple shows with them live around New York City at like Bowery Ballroom was one of the big venues we played. And then in March of 2010, they went on this Saturday Night Live, and they're wonderful collaborators, and they're musically trained, so they really care about bringing in instruments you don't normally find performing necessarily with an indie band. And on that show, that meant a string quartet that they brought in. So they had these beautiful arrangements that we kind of accompanied them on. So I got to do that as well. And Zach Galifianakis was hosting, and I got to go to the after party too. And I remember talking to a few of the big stars, trying not to be too annoying, but definitely fan gushing a little bit.
Okay, so you are no stranger to the stage. Like you said, you started playing violin at 4, but when you know that there are millions of eyes on you, did that change anything with your performance?
No, you go into kind of survival mode and you just focus on the job at hand. It, I think the biggest audience I ever had was in 2004. The Democratic National Convention was in Boston, and I played a solo rendition of Amazing Grace, and I was 16 at the time, and I am very glad that I was so young that I didn't yet get nervous. I think if I had to do that now, that might be a little much for me, and I might start to have, the nervous shakes. But luckily at 16, I could handle it.
Oh my goodness. Okay, that's impressive. Now, what about though? I mean, with the vaccine and all of that, there's a lot of hope and a lot of
Yeah.
people talking about there is light at the end of what has been a really challenging, really dark for many tunnel.
Mhm.
But you're faced with figuring out still, as we're in the midst of a pandemic still, how to share your music. How are you navigating all of that?
Yeah, it's a difficult time to assume kind of a leadership position of an arts organization because I have a responsibility to the musicians to inspire them and give them, things to throw themselves into and to provide music to the community. So I will say, working backward from kind of the light at the end of the tunnel, a lot of arts organizations have optimism about fall of 2021 being a time when we can perform in a somewhat normal atmosphere, maybe still with a fair amount of distance, but we are optimistic and hopeful in the arts industry that maybe September is a time when we can be performing live for people indoors. So from now until then, it's about responsibly bringing music to our community and providing musical opportunities to our musician members. And it's important to me that, for example, in December, where we've released all these holiday videos where it's only just a few musicians at a time. We recorded and video captured the performances of various holiday carols in a garage with the door open. So there's a lot of airflow. We were distanced. We had masks on. And it's important to me that from that stage until we're really performing for audiences again, we kind of open up in stages responsibly, following all
Mhm.
the guidelines.
Gabriel, will you join us in the Great Day Live Fast Five? Just 5 quick questions, just off the top of your head. You can
My
give us
pleasure.
the answers. Okay,
Absolutely.
here's the Great Day Live Fast Five. What or who are you reading?
I am reading a book by Patrick Rothfuss called The Name of the Wind. It's a very popular fantasy novel, and I'm reading it for the third time.
Who is on your playlist? Either name a song or an artist.
Okay. I listen to a lot of video game music because I also write some video game soundtracks. So I'm listening to very nerdy albums like the soundtrack to the Diablo franchise is one of my favorites.
What's your go-to must-have it food?
Oh, Taco Luchador.
Ooh, yes, yes. What is the best part about 2020?
I think realizing how much human interaction is important and what a blessing it is to be able to spend time with friends and loved ones.
And lastly, what do you hope for the most in 2021?
The health of the human race and the United States of America, and a return to, the normalcy for those people who have been hit hardest by this for either health or economic reasons.
Absolutely. Well, Gabriel, I look forward to seeing you in the studio, hopefully, maybe sometime in 2021. Happy New Year to you, and really congratulations to the community that you'll be heading up and leading the Louisville Civic Orchestra.